Elon Musk, a user of AI, calling for an end or a pause to AI. What the heck is going on here? Is this protectionism? Is this crazy Elon? What's happening?
I think there's a little bit of all that, Pat. I think we should probably take a quick step back and just say the AI advancements in the last 4 to 12 weeks have been unprecedented. And I think if you could go back to just before Sam Altman sort of brought ChatGPT out to market and a little bit more of a little more availability to the broader user audience, AI was advancing at a pace where we were seeing things happen. We were seeing things happening. It was the way we would render our video games. It would be maybe some natural language processing, or Google's email was starting to fill in some sentences for us. You could talk to your Alexa, and maybe it was a little bit smarter than the average bear. I don't think Siri ever did anything that really reflected AI. But we were starting to. I'm kidding, down all you Apple people. We were seeing, smart vehicles, Elon Musk included using AI and its technology to make vehicles safer and more efficient and a lot of things. But what we hadn't seen is this generative thing. And this generative thing just came on so fast. All of a sudden, we went from basically Google search being the penultimate way to discover, to having a new way using something like Bing and generative AI that completely disrupted the entire business model of search. And then you had something like generative AI added to Dynamics 365, and then added to Teams, and then added to Office, where it's writing our articles, it's generating press releases, it's creating PowerPoint presentations. And by the way, it's also opened a whole common to the black hats to figure out ways to break these large language models. You got some other side stories developing. You've got sustainability issues with all the additional compute and capacity that's going to be required to run these models at any scale. And then you've got an upskilling issue when you have millions of white collar jobs that you could say, yeah, it's a co-pilot, but it does 99% of the work for you. So that, just a quick backstory. So what's going on with Elon Musk is, I think we have a little bit of a who should control the narrative thing going on. You got a little bit of what do we do when there is zero regulation? So, Pat, we talked about the automobile. The automobile, there's the National Highway Traffic and Highway Safety Board that actually will prevent a company from putting driverless vehicles on the road without very strict guardrails for how these things are going out in testing. With this stuff, it just gets launched. There's no way to prevent it. There's no stop. There's no, hey, what if it's wrong? What if it's usefully wrong? What if it's really just straight up wrong? We don't know. And like I said, as companies right now, we've already seen it with Musk himself at Twitter, basically saying, I can cut 75% of my staff and still run a business at near the same efficiency. Well, what happens when all those people that are creating your PowerPoints, that are writing your copy and content, that are designing your graphics, building out your websites, creating e-commerce experiences, doing customer service, has all been completely automated? By the way, if there was a book called Human Machine, I would have written it about this very topic. And so I think what's going on is we're kind of saying, hey, this is going at an unprecedented pace. We need to look at the risks. We need to look at the ethics. We need to look at social responsibility. We need to look at the sustainability impacts. And we also need to look at the potential black hat issues, the risk factors. The Borg is, well, the machine, I think Musk shared a joke on Twitter yesterday about all the advanced technologists building AI in order to figure out if there is indeed a God. And he has a little Twitter joke about that where he kind of says, in the end, you do now. Where we've built this machine that basically supersedes humanity. Is that true? Is it going to take over humanity? I don't know. I actually shared a graphic on this, Pat, on Twitter that I found that kind of showed that the anywhere from about 10 to 25% of the broader populations of the world think that AI will eventually take over the human race. We've seen iRobot, we've seen these movies. Is that stuff real? I think that's the most extreme to the right, but just to the left is how fast we're moving, how much it impacts jobs, how much our capacity to actually implement this technology, the sustainability issues. These are all things that we have nobody talking about at any real level. And of course, the big tech companies are going to win big by getting this out to market first. Companies will immediately become more productive, blah, blah, blah. I've said a lot. I could run on this topic for another 20 minutes. I'm going to pass it to you because I'd love to get your take.
I mean, you could just form your own podcast called The Five. Right?
No, you do have one about enterprise data center. I think it's called the 7.6.
Yeah, I can't, and I can't even like swing a cat without hitting one of your 17 branded podcasts. So anyways, no, let's move forward. So my first reaction to all the spooky technology is going to destroy the world always gets me. I like to read books, typically history books, and if you look at over the last 150 years, I mean, whether it was the wheat thresher, the radio, TV, and car, it was going to destroy society. And so far it hasn't, but we keep bouncing back. But I don't want to be lazy here and put it under that. I went in and actually read some papers that were cited by the Future of Life organization that Elon Musk is part of and on the board of, and that's where this letter came from. And it posed some pretty good questions. Should we let machines flood our information channels with propaganda and untruth? Should we automate away all the jobs, including the fulfilling ones? You hit on that one. Should we develop non-human minds that eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilizations? Now, here's where it gets into kind of the punchline. It says, such decisions must not be delegated to unelected tech leaders. By the way, I agree with that, but I also think there's a lot of people who question the trust of administrators and government. So I don't know if a pause, I don't know what a 6-month pause would do. Who would step up and fill that? Do we trust our federal, state, and local governments to do the right thing? What I've seen is that unfortunately our country is in a politicization nightmare where we're making a lot of the decisions. The government is making a lot of decisions based on politics, not necessarily what is good for the majority of citizens. And Dan, what do you think is going to happen when we pause for 6 months?
China.
Exactly.
China.
Exactly.
It's not a universal pause, is it? It's not going to happen like that.
Right. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So I would hate, clearly let's say clearly the US. I would say applied AI China is better than we are. I think its ability to do video surveillance is next. I mean, they're the leaders at that. Some people would say that England is the best at that, with all the cameras that are in the city center, based on the troubles that country had back in the 70s. But TikTok, I think it is very well understood that TikTok has the best algorithm. So the Chinese are not the best at AI hardware, but I believe they're the best at the application. So I would hate for there to be a pause that could lead to either uncompetitiveness or some challenge to our defense. Now, at the other side of the mouth, they'll say there might be a pause, but there's no way DARPA is going to pause, or defense related.
It's not universal, Pat.
Exactly. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you though, because one of the things I was thinking about is obviously, besides the fact that Musk has a lot of interest in China, it is a huge market for him. The semiconductor, the sales restrictions on all the advanced chips, would a pause with China, in your opinion? Because I'm kind of thinking, I know they'll gray market stuff, but they won't be able to get everything as quickly right now because of all those limitations on some of these specific advanced.
It's funny though. I mean, it's not the H100, but it's the H800. And guess what? You find the right way to network those together,
Yeah.
in a big enough data center, and you can get the same type of performance in aggregate by stringing more of them together. So
Yeah.
that was a clever move by NVIDIA, but I highly doubt that China is having a problem creating these generative AI
I tend to
models.
agree, but I just felt it was appropriate to say, hey, I guess maybe if we don't give them ASML,
Yeah.
eventually they'll run out.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. They're at 7 nanometer right now with SMIC. It's not using EUV, so they have the right geometry. They just don't have the ability to do. They have to double pattern to get there, which is less efficient and more expensive.
So nerdy.
I know, so nerdy. Get me going.